Insidia is a game that tries to do a lot of things to stand out. Combining elements of MOBAs, turn-based strategy games, and old-school board games like chess, there's a lot to like here. Potentially. The game does a lot of things, but unfortunately it does very few of them well. I'm Colton from MMOHuts.com, and here's our first look at Insidia. Insidia is an interesting animal. It's a turn-based strategy MOBA RTS, and if that sounds like a lot, well, that's because it is. The concept at the core of the game is intriguing enough, though. Players select a team of 4 heroes of the currently available 6, then they compete for control of several objects on the map. Each character has stats, a passive ability, an active ability, and an ultimate. The most interesting thing is that, like in chess, you can only deploy or move 1 unit per turn. That's it. The hero that moves is also the only one that can take an action this turn. This turns a game that felt like a one-on-one version of Atlas Reactor into something much slower. As your characters interact with enemies on the board, they gain power that goes toward activating an ultimate. Any character can use your accrued power, as it's a shared pool. Mastering these abilities is critical to capturing the available map objectives, which include 2 energy wells that grant additional ultimate power generation, and a giant cross-platform that activates a super cannon after 3 turns of occupation, blasting away at the enemy base. All of this culminates in taking down your enemy's core. Insidia's roster splits into the usual 4 character archetypes: tank, assassin, bruiser, and support. Each character also has a specific number of spaces they can move in a turn and still act. This is important to consider when building your team. Additionally, your active unit can forego their action for extra squares of movement, which can be a real difference maker. My favorite of these characters is Angor, the Eternal Hunger. In addition to his cool model, he's an eternal force that you don't control so much as influence, and it reflects in his gameplay. You can move him, but after he moves, he squats down and then charges 3 squares on his next turn. The upside is that he damages any hero he hits and stops there. The downside is that this makes it near impossible for him to hold objectives. Even still, he's easily the most memorable character among the current roster. Combat in the game also feels a bit awkward at first. Most characters have no auto attacks, so all the damage you deal is reliant on using active abilities. While this isn't inherently a problem, it does take a bit of adjustment. It only becomes a problem when you factor in the flaws in the game's presentation. The game hits its first stumbling blocks here. The only tooltips available for viewing are when you mouse over the active unit's portrait on the bottom of the screen. When you're not moving a unit, you can't check its actual ability text. If you mouse over a unit who's not active, it tells you the name of their abilities, and that's it. No numbers, no targeting conditions, nothing. This is just one facet of the game's convoluted and half-functioning interface. Turns in the game are simultaneous and have a planning phase and a resolution phase. These phases are indicated by the single moving bar near the bottom of the screen. The turn timer counts down ridiculously fast though, so if you're a new player and you don't know the character's moves by heart, you're out of luck. You will not have any time to plan. Additionally, the counter takes pregnant pauses between every phase, slowing the already measured pace of the game down considerably. These flaws wouldn't shine through so brightly if the game had done more with the time it spends on the tutorial to explain these things. Yes, I know the game is in beta, and its very first screen says there may be incomplete or non-functioning features, but the stuff that's missing feels absolutely necessary for the game to function fluidly. These flaws aside, Insidia does have its upsides. Visually, the game is quite pretty. The cel-shaded style and the bright colors make the otherwise boring segments of the game much more interesting. The music isn't bad either. It's nothing I'd be in a rush to put on my phone, but it provides a nice level of atmosphere during matches without intruding too much. The core gameplay concepts at work here are fun to think about as well. The single character interactions every turn, combined with delays on some characters' abilities, means you can plan ahead and set up really cool combos that feel great when executed properly. All in all, Insidia is a great idea that falls incredibly flat in its execution. I want to like the game, but there are so many hurdles to jump in its presentation that any fun I could have had while playing it was lost in the shuffle. These are fixable problems though, and the game has more than enough life ahead of it to work out the kinks. When it does, it could be really good. Until then, don't waste your time. Well, that's all for today. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Make sure you subscribe and keep it locked on MMOHuts.com for all the latest gaming news and reviews.